This is the Adoption is Love podcast. Real stories from real birth moms who've lived it, loved through it, and grown stronger because of it.
There's a lot of anxiety, depression, fear of the unknown. I don't like surprises, and I just wasn't sure I had this plan, but was that adoptive family going to stick to that plan?
19 years ago, birth mom Kristin made the brave decision to place her daughter for adoption. In today's episode, she shares her biggest fears, what led her to that choice, and the advice she would give to women facing the same decision. She's in conversation with Catherine Cheek from Deaconess Pregnancy and Adoption.
Thank you so much for joining and sharing your adoption story.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So, Kristin, can you share a little bit about your life and circumstances when you found out you were pregnant?
I found out when I was about 4 months along. I was about 25. I really didn't know what my options were. I was like, parenting's out of the question. Abortion, that's just not in my beliefs. And I went to the hospital after I had fallen just to make sure she was okay and I was okay. And I told my mom, I don't know what we're going to do. A caseworker had come to see me that worked at the hospital, and she gave me a packet, like 3 pieces of paper stapled together with different agencies and lawyers. We were going through it, waiting to be discharged, and they were all not here in Oklahoma. They were all out of state. Texas is the biggest one I can remember. And we were flipping through. We're like, we're going to move to Texas. And the last page, the last agency was Deaconess.
So tell me about that first phone call to Deaconess Pregnancy and Adoption. What was that like?
Relief was the biggest one, and anxiousness too.
What was most anxious for you?
Not knowing what the path may lead. Will I ever get to see her again? Will I have contact? All the feelings.
So when you got closer to your due date, did you choose a family throughout that process?
Yes. So my mom and I chose a family through Deaconess. And I am tribal. I am Choctaw. And I had already picked a family. And I went into labor about a month early. So the adoptive mother was out of town. I will never forget. She told me that she literally had to pull over because she was crying so hard. She gets to be a mom that she longed for.
Your daughter that you placed is now 18.
She's actually 19.
She's 19 now.
Almost. She'll be 20 next year.
Wow. It's been a lot of years. So
it's crazy.
Looking back, what are you most grateful for in making an adoption plan for your daughter?
I love how I got to choose a family and extend their family. My adoptive family has tried for years to have a baby, and nothing would work. Once I knew my options, I was like, that's exactly what I want to do. And I get to have a family grow. And not only did their family grow, but mine did as well. Because I had, my biological family and then their family, the 4 of them.
And talking about your adoptive family being the 4 of them.
Yes.
Because they adopted more than once.
Yes. My daughter has a younger brother. Yes. And I actually am friends with his birth mother as well.
What would you say was the most difficult part of your journey?
Not all my family accepted my decision. My dad's side, mostly my granny, my dad's mom, didn't want to hear about it. Both my grandmas had mantles in their houses, and each of them had all the grandkids and all the great-grandkids. And I gave my granny a picture of my daughter and her son, and she put it up, but the next time I went over, I noticed it was gone. And I always try to say, hey, I had a visit today. And she's like, I don't want to hear about it. And I'm like, okay. So I quickly learned my aunts were all about it. They wanted pictures, but my granny just grew up in the 30s, and parenting back then was the only option. And she was mad at me for it. And that's okay. I learned to deal with it because it's just one family member. The rest of my family loved her like they were her own.
So the rest were supportive.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
If you could go back and talk to yourself at the beginning of your adoption journey, what would you say to yourself?
Breathe. There was a lot of anxiety, depression, fear of the unknown. I don't like surprises, and I just wasn't sure I had this plan, but was that adoptive family going to stick to that plan? Just to breathe. Don't have any worries. it will work itself out. It will work out to the best that it can in the end.
What brought that peace to you? Because I can hear those words, but then you've come a long way. When did you start feeling that peace?
Oh, it took a long time. My daughter was probably between 5 and 10 years old before I realized, quit worrying about it. She's safe. She's happy. She's got everything she can possibly want that I could not give her. And she's being taken care of, and she's a happy baby.
So if a woman is listening to this podcast today and she is in an unplanned pregnancy, what advice would you give her?
Look into adoption. Your personal family will grow. Not only will you make somebody a parent of their own, maybe a first timer, maybe not. Know that you got support in anything you do. Your family will grow tremendously.
I love that, the way you say your family will grow in adoption.
Yep.
Well, Kristin, we thank you so much for joining us today and just really being vulnerable and sharing your story of adoption.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Adoption is Love podcast, brought to you by Deaconess Pregnancy and Adoption. If you're curious about open adoption or just need someone to talk to, an adoption specialist is available at adoption.is.love.